So, who is this Mexican and how did he cross the border? This is Sneako, one of my favorite content creators. To many, he's a YouTube villain. Now let me just ask you one simple question. Is this really your adversary?
What is going on, guys? I'm Sneako and welcome back to another Minecraft video. Today, we are going to be playing some Build It on the Harry and Jerry server.
Yeah, keep fighting the great fight, sir. But since a little boy, Sneako had one thing on his mind. And at a young age, Sneako was a joker.
I'm all about the personalities. You see? Thank you. Thank you.
And why did Sneako, honestly, one of my favorite content creators right now, start YouTube?
Why did you start your YouTube channel? I'm single. Why do you play video games? I'm single. Why are you Asian and not white? I'm gay.
Well, if that isn't motivational enough, I don't really know what is. A lot of haters are calling him autistic all of a sudden, and I don't know where they get that from.
That's a...
Do you know somebody with autism?
You'll be okay, you'll be safe with me. No more of these leeches.
Autism is much, much more common than most people think. What is autism?
Come here, shut the fuck up. Shut the fuck up.
But I will say, for a young kid, Sneako was smart for his age, but he did have a female obsession.
You should call up that one girl. She is definitely gorgeous by now. Call her. But don't let the girls get to your head like they do now.
They still get to his head.
Chat, she said I'm dumb! I'm dumb! I did it! We did it! I thought she just said happy birthday! Brett!
But does this sound like a straight man?
On Instagram. I saw it. That's Instagram.
But in his spare time, Sneako likes to debate people who don't shower, are fat, and can't even speak properly.
Okay, so your sister went to Juilliard and she's going to, like, you know, acting, right? The thing we said earlier, too, is, like, just a little bit, like, 5 minutes ago. Like.
But let's put jokes aside just a little bit, and like and sub if you enjoyed that. But if Sneako is watching, I enjoy your content. I watch it a fair bit, and I love your stand-up. I'm actually upset that you don't continue it, but what's your opinion on what I'm about to say here? Because this is kind of like the framework, the body of your channel, pretty much the majority of what you talk about. Smoking helps me think. It gives me the power to tell the truth, as Tim Dillon would say. Love has a quality to it, right? A lot of people, the love they offer is practically worthless. If people's character had a smell, like, trust me, some people would make you want to vomit. Any guy or girl that only appreciates the top of an iceberg of your character, like what you have, you know, the most consciously obvious stuff, yet can't understand or attempt to understand what is below that character, like the honesty, the trust, communication, courage, humor, awareness, like the deeper underlying factors of who you are, how you can even make them improve, or how they complement you and you complement them. Like, you can't really love someone with that level of misunderstanding because you hardly even know who they are. So you can't really accept them, appreciate them, because love is deep, right? And if you lack an intellectual and emotional depth, you're not really gonna be able to create a bond on a profound level, especially if you're warping your character out of shape and you're not really being true to yourself. But anyway, these people are the people who care about their physical appearance more than who they are. It's almost a continual hunger for acceptance and validation to fill a hole inside of them because they just don't really get it from themselves. Usually they're incredibly materialistic, and it's all about money, clothes, cars, as if, like, they've got a higher value than a human life. And everything has to be external because anything internal is so horrifying to look at that they struggle. Because if they were to accept who they were, they would want to change. And they're not trying to change, so they're just lying to themselves, right? It's like the foundations of delusion that make up their character. And all the comments basically point to that, just pointing out the hypocrisy and how strange that all is. But that's the type of person. That's not really specific to one gender. And they're unbearable, but hell, like, I've seen, to be fair, I've never seen such a collection of those type of people in one room. And look, hear me out here. Would you talk to a kid from, like, special needs about algebra? Like, no, you wouldn't. You'd get frustrated. You'd get annoyed. You'd be like, oh, well, come on, work it out, Timmy. So why talk to these unlovable people with zero wisdom, zero intelligence about life, about love? Like, and not just that, you're trying to debate them. I don't go around with my, like, little niece and go, I'm going to debate you about relationships. And it's like, no wonder the comment section is just filled with frustration. Like, when you think about it, you should also feel sad for them. Similar to that kid, right? The kid, you know, the dumb kid who can't do algebra. It's like, damn, you're kind of screwed, dude. You know, because their life cycle is to be, like, used, unloved, until they eventually grow old. I don't know. Like, their life isn't really that enviable. It's a lonely one. And it doesn't matter if they get into a relationship or whatever, because they're so flawed and they're so incapable of self-reflection and looking at themselves, it will fall apart because those flaws will have their way as they ignore them. And the bond itself will not be deep, it'll be incredibly shallow, there'll be nothing that's special about the relationship. Because, they're incapable of reading character, and the perfect person could almost walk past them and they wouldn't even know. Like, just look at them, they're all the same. There is nothing unique about them other than the makeup they have on. And look, not to say you can't love the misunderstanding, right? With certain people, I have so many ideas on why we actually are such a good match, but something such as the healing or the strength that you get from them, the way... Maybe meeting a girl who makes you reevaluate what love is, or, as if you were like chemicals, where the reaction caused you both just to be so much more than you actually were, as if being together almost realigned your emotions and made you a much better person. It fixed all the cracks inside you, the weird misalignments. Like, I see it, but that part is so deep, I can't understand it, but I can kind of see it and I can appreciate the beauty. But that's kind of why, if you want to love, I believe you have to be authentic. You have to be true to your own emotions, and if you can be alone with your own thoughts and they're not torturing you with criticism, that's a good sign. Otherwise, the chances are you kind of betrayed yourself. You're ignoring your own emotions, your own conscience, and you're living probably mostly by the expectations of others or a system that you've been put into and just adapting to that rather than how you feel and who you are. And that's just not going to be you at the end of the day. And how can you be loved if you don't respect yourself enough to even be yourself? Like, if you're not funny, work on your humor. If you have a problem, solve it. Trust me, it's better to struggle by achieving things rather than struggle holding things together. And if you are struggling to holding things together, fix that so you can struggle in achieving things. Because some people who are depressed, it does make sense. Like, they interact with the world in just a depressing way. Like, how are your emotions not disappointed in yourself? You make bad choices, you have zero hobbies, zero passions, bad friends, you do nothing worthwhile. Like, what right do you have to be happy or even loved? Like, that's arrogant and selfish. If life is a story, why make it boring and not exciting? Then expect someone to want to join in your boring story rather than having someone join in on an exciting one. And let's be real, dudes, how many guys out there mistake lust for love? I see guys where they want to get with a girl, she's hot, but they would never want her to be the mother of their children. Because look, your partner is always going to be a reflection on you. Because as I got to be a better person, the people I was actually getting with got better. Like, when I was garbage, I picked a girl that cheated on me for 2 years. And that wasn't the worst she did to me, honestly. But now I pick such loving girls. They're much more kind. They're much more funny. And trust me, if you just actually spent more time working on yourself instead of trying to chase things, you get hobbies, passions, do cool shit, get a good social group. I swear down, one day you just meet her and you resonate with her and you fall into a relationship. You don't even realize it. You just go, oh shit, I'm with a chick. Because if you hunt, for one, you hunt when hungry. And when you're hungry, you're desperate, right? And when you're hunting, you often get that dirty foundations of a relationship where if you actually analyzed what was going on in the beginning, you'd probably want to break up. And often you just find someone who's almost as desperate as you. It's like the people that get with other people because they actually rather not be alone. And they just want a relationship. They don't really want a relationship with them. My best method of getting girls is do everything but that and it kind of comes. And it's weird when people go for these oh, what words do I say? What do I do? Because as for me, usually we just talk a lot, we laugh a lot, we have fun, so we end up naturally saying, hey, let's hang out more, let's talk more. And it all feels natural. I'm not really pushing it, I'm not thinking, what do I send? If I call them, I'm not thinking, do I call them? I call them and they answer and we have a good conversation. And one day, you're messing around. Maybe you give her a piggyback, you laugh and she gets off, you have your arm around her, then you just look at her and you find yourself making out, whatever. My only advice to even getting with people at times is let it come naturally. Don't overthink it. It's not I hit a joke, a pickup line, a flirt quote, and we got together. Just let things fall into place. It might take a long time, and I know that a lot of people are saying nah, she's got to get with you you got to make out on the first date and all that kind of stuff. It's not really, dude, not really. And don't worry about those weird girls they have on that show. No one wants them anyway. Do you really want to date that? unless it's like to chuck them after, but like I usually find the people I love the most wouldn't respect me if I respected others that way. So I don't really do any of that stuff, and it often really it works both ways. You know, because there's a value in something being scarce, right? It's like, hey, this person hardly gets with anyone. So if you get with them, then you're clearly someone special to them. But if they just get with everyone and then you're like number, whatever, 50, you don't feel as valuable. You're just like, oh, I'm just part of a long chain of, of people. And I want to feel special. Because look, everyone has flaws, right? And like, I don't know, like flaws which like disconnect you from other people, and deep ones too. Like me included. And part of even a relationship is kind of ensuring that they don't. So if things get shaky, you quickly realize why, you fix it, and that takes trust, communication, you know, etc. And you kind of have to practice it in a way. You have to have that with in other parts of your life, right? Like, I trust my friends, I have good communication with my friends, I'm committed to the things I'm passionate about. But if you're someone who doesn't practice, say, trusting people, you talk behind people's backs, you never commit to anything for long periods of time. Like, that all shows in a relationship. Like, it's all weirdly connected. It's not that you go in a relationship and you act completely different from how you react in outer life. It's all connected. Like, if you treat your friends badly, you treat people badly. Like, you don't think you're going to treat your partner badly. You don't trust anyone, but all of a sudden you'll trust your partner. Like, I was with a girl who, she'd always gravitate to negative outcomes, right? So she had, like, I don't know why, but every outcome she would, like, what's the worst case scenario? And she would spend so much time thinking about that, she'd almost try and manifest it, and you'd have to be like, hold on a minute, dude. This is like the worst outcome you can actually think of right now, and you're not thinking about this outcome, that outcome, and you're kind of bringing upon that outcome because you're so worried about the relationship, I guess, not working, that you're making it not work because you're so antagonized that it's already over, that it's falling apart, and blah blah blah. You're practically breaking up with me while we're in the relationship. It's like that kind of stuff. And then she's like yeah. And then she'll say something about my flaws. I don't know. You're making too many jokes about me. You're stripping me of my self-confidence right now. Hold back on the humor. I don't know, because like people think also trust is like people say, oh, I'm really trustworthy. But I often find when it comes to like telling their partner something they don't want to hear, that trust goes out the window. You know, I'm just saying. Like sometimes like proper trust is telling someone something they don't want to hear, but you do it because they should know. So take all this female advice with a pinch of salt, dude. Like you're going to people who, no offense, like have you been in a relationship, Sneako, for over like 5 years or 3 years? Like not really, right? So how are you going to give advice at relationships when you can't even really sustain one? You know what I'm saying? Because people are like, yo, I kind of want to feel loved. I want to be in a happy relationship. A bit like PewDiePie and Marcia. Very admirable. No one really cares about whoever Kim Kardashian is dating now because she's like, it's just the next one. There's nothing really admirable about it. But people admire that long-term relationship that's working out. They're having fun. They're making memories. And they never have to look back and be like, ugh. So, you know, in a way, are you really giving them what they want in that respect? Because don't get me wrong, you can pick up girls, but here's the thing, yeah, when you're a content creator, you can have a little bit of clout. You can have maybe 100 viewers, right? You can be real small. And let me tell you right now, if you have that sort of community, you have a groupie. You have some girls lined up who will literally just give themselves to you. It's kind of weird. You know, because everyone thinks, oh no, only the bands and the most popular like people have groupies. But nah, dude, even small communities have their groupies. You know, like if you have a bit of clout and a bit of money, I'll be real with you. It's not going to be exactly hard. You can take them to a fancy cocktail bar. You can make sure you have good clothing on. You can sit there. You can make them laugh. And they're going to be like, wow, no one's ever treated me like this before. Oh my God, he's taking me out doing all these cool things. And, you know, it'll work on shallow people 100% of the time. And even if they're not that shallow, you just got to make them laugh and have a good conversation. Because there is something admirable. I mean, it's a bit upsetting, right? Because you could go to university, become an aerospace engineer, and you could have come from, like, poverty. But no one's really going to really care about it or find that admirable compared to a guy who probably had it maybe easier, like, and then just did YouTube. I'm not saying it's you, dude. And then just got successful off it, and she'd be like, I'm gonna go for him, and it's like, that person took a lot of risk. You know, I mention this because there are a lot of people who actually got into YouTube and did well on YouTube, but what they initially did was, for example, when you're at university, you have a massive social life, but a lot of people who I know actually sacrificed that social life to try and get it on YouTube by grinding for years. And when you actually say they're not actually that social. A lot of people on YouTube really aren't that social one bit. Compared to the people who've gone through uni and actually took all the time to go have all those social experiences, the difference is fucking drastic. You think the people on YouTube are like socially adept and like really cool to hang out with. I know much better people who didn't go on YouTube, because the people who are cool and have their shit together, they're surrounded by friends and they're doing cool shit all the time. They're not going to sacrifice years to go on YouTube. The people who sacrifice years on YouTube are the people who just don't have anyone around them. So you have this guy who's essentially done all of that, become really social, and going from, say, a poor family to then, like, well, would probably be high class. He's getting well paid doing aerospace engineering. Very admirable. And it's a very interesting job, and he made a big leap, and he's so much more successful than he ever would have been. And it's crazy that he isn't admired, but someone who's having a failing stream, right, isn't really earning a lot of money, probably earning below minimum wage, would somehow be then more interesting and more encouraging than the person who worked really hard to help his family and all these different things. And that's another reason why it's also that whole people looking at the surface of the ice cap and not the whole story underneath it. He didn't make financially sound choices in a way, because not many people are actually capable of pulling it off. And somehow, like, my friend who did this great thing for his family and for himself and for whoever he'll be with is looked down upon for... And, you know, like, no girl is chasing after him. Yeah, if you go to someone who has like 100 views on Twitch, I promise you right now, they're DMing like 3 to 4 different girls. And this whole like being a man thing, that's like something I think that develops over time. It develops through struggle, I know, because there's such a rush to it, but it's like you can't rush it. It develops through struggle, getting things done. You know, everyone's idea of what it is different, right? You can go look at, like, say, Conor McGregor, let's say Joe Rogan, like Ronaldo, for example. You could go look at a whole bunch of people who you'd probably call men, but they're all different. There's probably a pure form of what being a man is, but everyone is slightly different variants of it. So, and that's just going to be in your nature, and you kind of find out what variant you are in a way. And there is that aspect of being a warrior, because you can look at life in many ways, but in one level, life is a fight. And I have a whole fighting playlist because I feel that way about life, but most of that fight is with yourself. It's like going gym, getting the work done, being reliable, making sure the people around you are happy, and, you know, it's like fighting that lazy part of you, that indulgent part of you, and realizing, like, if you don't, you lose what you love. Like, for example, like, can you hold yourself together when things are getting rough? Like, because that's when your character's truly tested. It's not tested when things are easy. You know, it's tested when you are in a bad place, and you will fail. Everyone's going to go there. But, like, you only fail if you don't learn. Otherwise, you grow. You know, because I've fallen hard, but over time I became stronger. And all those that, like, went after me, those who kicked me when I was down, those who even brought me down, like, I've grown past, like, who I was, and I've also grown past them. And you'll see that in UFC, for example. Someone who then loses a fight, everyone is bashing on them, saying that they weren't good in the first place, you name it. But then they go to the training, they go back, and they work on themselves, they work on their technique, and they come back to that ring, they beat their next opponent, and they make a comeback. And that's the best story. You have that with people like Charles Oliveira, for example, someone who didn't win all the time. He lost a couple of times, and now he's the champion. When Khabib went, people thought, oh, the championship is free. It's going to be either Dustin Poirier. It's going to be either, Gaethje. Then all of a sudden, Charles Oliveira just comes out and goes, actually, no, it's me. The scariest people are the people who can always get back up and then always improve, even once they've been knocked down. I know people want to be in a good situation, but bad ones are the best from my experience. So, I mean, I love having all the struggles that I set up for myself. They're all artificial. They're all being placed on me by me to achieve things. But that makes me happy, because I could relax, I could take it easy, but then I'd not be happy. Because I was happiest when I was struggling in life. That's when, like, good moments felt really impactful. I don't know, I had the best memories and experiences at that point, and I actually missed it. So having these goals, like this whole new fight that I have to do, like, it's beautiful. And then you're not going to be scared, you're not going to be intimidated. In fact, you'll probably welcome it with a smile. Because even if you're, like, outmatched and you're not ready, it's similar to, like, a character in a fight. You just grow during the fight until you win. Because that fight a fight in life doesn't end until you give up. And even with YouTube, right, I'm not ready, I'm not good, but I'll improve as I go on. And I'll make sure I won't tap out until I win. And as the channel grows, I'll also grow the channel and develop it. Because I really want to do like 100 days rock climbing, mountain biking, sailing. I don't know, like I really think life is about having all these experiences and going out and finding them. And I want to actually have on my channel, like, I want to be able to show people all these different experiences they could have. Because I think, you know, not even being a man, but being a human, it's just about seeking experience. And let's be real, if you're watching like 10 hours of a live stream a day, or you're watching like 4 hours worth of content in the evening, are you really having an experience? You kind of are, but it depends what you're, you know, digesting into your brain. There are people who say being a nerd is bad, but being smart is definitely good. You know, being athletic, going gym means you're dumb when you're just being healthy. You know, being wise makes you a wacky, hippie, spiritual shaman when it just means you're more aware on how to create a healthy, healing, growing environment and a better relationship with those around you. And the whole money thing, like going for money, like it's a lie. Like what do you want to do regardless of money? And then do that. And if you can like obsess over it and you can become good at it, you know, if you can become a master, then you'll get paid for it. People will recognize your talent. And if you don't know what it is, that's absolutely fine. And if it's gaming, it's not that you don't know it, you know? But if you don't know, just go out and find it. You're in the place where you get to go and experience all these different things and find something that resonates with you. Like procrastinate, look for it. And I would say do it early, right? Because you like Sneako, right? He started early on. And that's a great place to start. The earlier the better, because you know, as time goes on, you don't really have the opportunity anymore. But I wouldn't worry about it too much, because in the end, from like the happiest people I know, and it goes for me as well, man, it's just the people where they're being authentic and true to who they are, and they're also surrounded by those they love and have a good time with. They're the happiest people. Because most people who like dedicate all their time to their career, like Sneako did, like, you do it because you're alone, and partly it's your only option. You don't really feel as if you have another option. And even me, when I started YouTube and even Twitch, it was because I was ripped away from my friends, the people I cared about. Because at the time, I wasn't thinking of YouTube and Twitch. I was having great moments with my bros. And to be fair, even if this worked out, the happiest part about this working out would be I would just go back. I would move back to where my friends are. I would go back with them and be like, let's make some videos together so we can hang out and I can do this thing. And please realize, I disagree with Sneako on a whole lot of things, but I like the guy. I wouldn't go like, oh, he needs to be removed. I'm like, nah, I would say my point on it. And if he listened to me and he said, yeah, I get it, but I'm not going to do it, I'd be like, that's fine. Like, honestly, like, that's fine. That's my point. I made my point. And if you said, yeah, I thought about that and I fought against it, I'd be like, okay, I don't know how, you can tell me how, but sound, I made my point. I'm not here to kind of force you. I'd rather say inspire you to change than force you. And if it's about politics, go watch the JRE Dave Smith episode. Usually I don't really get into it. I actually spend all my time listening to the opposition, but sometimes I will go watch something like that because it really is music to my ears. Anyway, like and subscribe.